Hi there, my name's Michelle Marslands and I run Marslands Accountants Limited. Now, most people know what an accountant does, and a lot of accountants do self-employed limited companies, that sort of type thing. At Marslands, though, we specialise as well in residential landlords. So when we talk about residential landlords, we mean somebody's letting out a home on a private basis. Now, we also specialise in something called the Let Property Campaign. And the Let Property Campaign, most people haven't heard of because they don't need to know about it. But you may need to know about it, or a friend or a family member may need to know about it. And this is why I'm recording the video. So the Let Property Campaign is an amnesty that HMRC brought in about 10 years ago now to help landlords get into the tax system. Once landlords are in the tax system, they will pay their tax on time every year because they'll be submitting their tax return. But a lot of landlords don't realise that they should be submitting a tax return, and that equates to 1 in 3 landlords do not realise they should be doing this, which is approximately 1 million landlords who have not declared to HMRC. So it's really important that landlords understand about how the Let Property Campaign can be useful to them. And I've done this little video really just to help give people an idea of the types of landlords that we come across on a regular basis. So firstly, I'm going to introduce you to Andrew. So Andrew has sold his property. He's had enough of renting, which is quite common at the moment. So he sold his property and his solicitor was a good solicitor and told him he needed to declare that property to capital gains tax within 60 days. Andrew ignored the solicitor and did nothing. He thought, that's fine, sold the property, it'll all go away. HMRC had other ideas, and about 6 months later, he got a letter from HMRC saying, firstly, I think you sold the property. I don't think this is your main home, so I think you owe me capital gains tax. And secondly, if you weren't living in this property, who was? Were you renting it out? So Andrew, unfortunately, at this state is an inquiry, and HMRC are now going to be a bit harsher on him because he didn't come to them first. So not only does he have to pay the capital gains tax, he also has to go and declare all of the rental income that he has not declared to HMRC in the past, going back up to 20 years. So Andrew, like I say, is going to have higher penalties and he's got interest for the last up to 20 years as well to pay to HMRC because he had a letter from HMRC instead. So don't be like Andrew, be like Ben and Claire. So Ben and Claire, they met 12 years ago. One of them had a flat and the other one had a house. And after a year or two, they thought, actually, this is not working. We need something slightly bigger. So what they did is they bought a house together. They lived in that house together and they rented out their flat and the little house. Okay. Now, when they rented them out, because they're both employed and they're both on PAYE, they just assumed that the tax is all dealt with by HMRC because that's how they pay their tax. Now, Ben and Claire were really lucky. They had bumped into a friend in the pub not long ago who'd said, oh, well, if you're renting out properties, you're a landlord. They go, no, it's fine. All of our tax is dealt with by HMRC. They go, no, you need to be doing a tax return because you're a landlord. Okay, so that's when Ben and Claire did a bit of research, found out about the Let Property Campaign and thought, okay, we may have 10 years here to declare, but let's get on with it because we don't really want to get into any sort of trouble. Now, because Ben and Claire came clean to HMRC before HMRC got to them, they are basically in a much better position. So their penalties will be lower. They came to Marslands Accountants as well, and it's quite common that we get a lot of people that do this. So they came to Marslands Accountants, they got a quote, we helped them do all the work, and we helped them save more tax than they were expecting as well. So that's great news. And we always help save most of our clients more than our fee as well. That's why we have our 99.8 success tax saving guarantee. So they were much happier by the end of it because they got rid of a worry that they didn't really know they had originally, but they were much happier. So now I'm going to move on to Doug. Now, Doug's a really kind, caring person, and Doug's mum was quite ill. And so what he did is mum went into her home and he rented out her house for her to pay for the care home fees. Didn't think anything more of it. Now, mum was actually a landlord then, and mum was still receiving that income. Okay, so although it's going to pay her care home fees, that's totally irrelevant as far as HMRC is concerned. So Doug has now got to go and do that and part of the probate to tell HMRC that mum needs to declare that property. So when mum died, he inherited the property. And then his daughter was in a bit of trouble at the time, so he said, all right, don't worry, go and live in my mum's old house. I'll give you a nice reduced rent as well because I'm a kind and caring person. I have no real cost of it, so as long as you cover the rates and everything, I don't really mind. So it's okay to rent to a friend or family member at a reduced rate. That's not a problem. It does impact on the losses sometimes, but it's not a problem to do that. But it is still rental income, okay? Even if it's to cover the mortgage, care home fees, or whatever, it's still rental income and you're still a landlord. So Doug needs to declare it to HMRC. So if he gets to HMRC first, yeah, and tells them that he's going to use the Let Property Campaign, he will have much reduced penalties. Yeah. If HMRC get to him first, which sometimes they do, they have a letter called the Let Property Campaign letter. It's a nudge letter, basically. They have a letter, and if they get to him first, the penalties can be higher. It does depend on whether it's an inquiry or whether it's a Let Property Campaign letter. Bit complicated to go into today. So if you are watching this or a friend of yours has pointed you towards this video, then the next steps are to go to our website, marslands.co.uk, where we have our online quoting form. Fill that out. It will give you an idea of our fees for the number of years. So you have to fill out the number of years, how many properties, whether you've got large repairs, things like that. Just gives you an idea of what work is involved. Then we can give you a quote, an online quote, so it's an instant quote. And like I say, we have a tax saving guarantee. So if our fee was, say, £2,500 plus VAT, if we can't save you more than £2,500, we won't charge you the full £2,500. All right. Our success guarantee of 99.8% success means that on very few occasions that we have to pay clients a little bit of money back, and it is a small amount of money. Our average saving for a landlord is £7,000, and our best ever saving for one landlord was over £230,000. So you can see that we know what we're doing. We've done this for over 250 clients over the last 10 years because this is a speciality that we've been working on. So just as a summary, there are three types of landlords that are likely to get caught with the HMRC campaigns. The first one is those that sell a property, because HMRC know that if you're selling a property, if you've still got another property left, that one of them you weren't living in. It's quite straightforward. The second one is the land registry. They also give HMRC this information about how many properties people have. So once again, if there's more than one property registered in your name, they're most likely to find that as well. Thirdly, letting agents need to tell HMRC about their client base, and so if you're going through a letting agent, then you will be letting out your property. So that's another way that HMRC can find you. If you want more information, go to our website at marslands.co.uk. Thank you, and time to shine. Your next step is go to marslands.co.uk and get a quote now.